Hi everyone, Christina here. It's been a while since I've come on camera to say hello. So hello, welcome to today's Make a Card Monday video. A while back I asked you guys what you want to see in videos more, and a lot of you mentioned you wanted to see more ideas for using one stamp set. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to be showing you some different things to do with the same exact stamp set, and let's get into it. The stamp set I've chosen to use today is this one from Gina K Designs. This is the Whimsical Wildflower Frame stamp set. And I thought I would choose this particular stamp set because at first glance it looks like there might not be a lot of different things to do with it, but there actually is, and I'm going to show you 4 different ways to use the images in this stamp set today. This first one is pretty straightforward. It's just very simple stamping with heat embossing. I'm going to use one of the sentiments and I'm going to stamp that first so then I can put these other stamps around it. I'm also going to be using one of these grid transparency sheets. This is going to help me get the sentiment not only on here right in the center, but also have it be completely straight. By the way, this cardstock is cut to 6.5 inches wide by 4.5 inches tall. It's going to go on a 5x7 card. Once I have that centered, I'll just close my MISTI door and then I can peel this grid up. I'm going to prep the area with an anti-static powder tool, and I'm going to make sure I get this on here really well. I'm putting a lot of powder on. It will wipe off in the end, so don't worry if there's any streaks left on it right now. It will completely wipe off. I'm also going to kind of just hold this right in the corner with the magnet, just in the top corner there. And I'm going to be stamping in Versamark ink. I like to use Versamark because it's super sticky, and it also gives me a little bit of time to make sure I get the embossing powder on my project before it dries. It takes a long time to dry, so it gives me some time. I'm going to walk my fingertips lightly over this entire area, and then I can lift up. I'm using Brutus Monroe Gilded Embossing Powder. It's a nice gold shade. And I'll set this aside because I am going to stamp the flowers on the bottom too. All right, I'm going to nestle that back in that bottom corner. I'm going to add more powder here for the second stamping just in case I've touched my fingertips to anything. Before I do anything else, I'm going to add some gold right around the edge by rubbing my Versamark pad right along this edge. And I want it to be pretty uneven, and then I can dip the edges of the cardstock into my embossing powder. And then I can just dip that edge in. If there are any areas, like right here, it's pretty thick, I can take a dry brush. I'm just going to take this one right here, and I can just flick off some of that embossing powder. Using my hand to just wipe off any of that anti-static powder tool, and that gets it off really well. Just the oils of my hand kind of pick up that powder. The last thing to do is put this on some foam adhesive and then onto the card base. So there is card number 1. I'm going to move on to my next idea, which has lots of stamping and some coloring. Now I have some Strathmore Bristol Smooth paper that I'm going to be using today, and I'm going to do some stamping. I've got one of the border stamps right here. I'm going to have to reposition it actually. But I'm going to be using some MISTI Creative Corners so that I can stamp off the edge of my cardstock here. So I'll put that down in that bottom corner, get that cardstock in place. And then I'm going to take this border stamp, and I want it to be lined up right along the bottom edge of this cardstock. All right, now I'll pick that up with my MISTI door. And I'm going to make sure that this cardstock is still in the same spot. And then I'm going to stamp this in VersaFine Onyx Black ink. This is a waterproof ink. It's great for projects like this where I'm going to be using watercolor markers over the top. Perfect. And I'm going to keep my stamp in my MISTI tool because I'm going to just turn it and do more stamping along this edge. Before I put this in, I've created a mask using that same border stamp. I'm using this Gina K Designs masking magic paper, and I've cut it like really intricately all the way over about that way, about that far, and that's going to give me enough room to stamp this after I turn my paper. And then very carefully apply it directly over the top of my stamped image. All right, I have this mask on here. So now I'm going to turn my paper 90 degrees. The mask is hanging off the end just a tiny bit, but that's not a huge deal. I'm going to nestle this into this bottom corner, remove the creative corners. Oh, things moved around. Got to do it again. Put this in the bottom corner. And I'm going to stamp this border stamp again. I'm going to remove the mask off this one side, and you can see how I have that nice corner now. I'm going to move it to this other one that I just stamped. This masking paper is a little bit slick, so it doesn't want to dry right away with this ink. So I'm being very careful as I apply it. Put my creative corner back in there. Turn that paper. Take this mask off. All right, for this one, I'm going to need both ends of this mask. So now I'm going to cut in half. I can apply this end over here, and then I can apply this end over here, and then stamp once again. So now I can remove these masks, and you can reuse them if you want. Now I have this border all the way around piece of cardstock. I'm now going to use my Arteza Real Brush pens to watercolor this entire piece. finished all the coloring, and now I'm going to take the Thinking of You die from Simon Says Stamp, and I picked this one because it's kind of the perfect size to fill in that center area. I'm going to die cut this 4 times and then stack them with adhesive so that it's dimensional, and I'll put that right on top. I'm now creating a 5.5 by 5.5 inch card base, just using my Teflon foam folder to get this nice and flat. Putting some foam adhesive on the back of my watercolor panel. All right, before I adhere each one of these, I'm just going to take off a little bit off the edge, because I noticed that there's a little bit of the black line from the stamp that's showing, and it really shows against the white card base. So I'm just trimming off the tiniest bit off each side. All right, now I can place this in the center of my card base. There we go, and that's card number 2. For this next one, I thought I would do an envelope, so I have a Neenah Solar White envelope here, and I'm going to do some lettering on this before I do my actual stamping. So I'm going to draw a line on there. All right, and I'm going to do another line right underneath for her street address. And then I'm going to do my stamping. All right, so I'm going to use that same VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I'm now going to use some Faber-Castell color pencils to color in all of the flowers and leaves. I have a spot here down at the bottom, a couple different spots, where it looks like my stamping ink wasn't completely dry. And so I was moving my fingers around it, kind of, see, I've got some ink everywhere. So what I'm going to do is take a Tombow sand eraser and just sand away that top layer of the paper. And it's going to lighten up anywhere where that ink is and give it a nice pristine white area. All right, the last thing this envelope needs is some postage. All right, so here are 3 different ways to use that same stamp set. Hope that gives you guys some ideas on how to use some border stamps. And of course, if you wanted to do any of these ideas, you could also use a bit of masking tape or masking paper and then stamp flower images above to like make your own border. So this is actually a really versatile kind of idea here. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed all of those ideas. It was a lot of fun putting those together. And just a reminder that all of the supplies I used today are listed down below with links to online stores, and I so appreciate it when you guys shop through those links. It helps support my YouTube channel and helps me bring multiple videos to you every week. On screen, I've got some videos for you to check out. These are all going to be videos where I use the same stamp set a couple of different ways. And before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in every single week for Make a Card Monday and my additional videos throughout the week. I appreciate you, and I will see you very, very soon for another card video.